Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Pod Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin Poo, and this is episode 266. There's a victory Thursday night after the Knicks went into Beantown and shit on Bill Simmons' life and killed all of the the hopes and dreams of Celtics fans everywhere.
3-game losing streak.
Yes, with a 120 to 117 overtime victory that they had won, and then they had lost, and then they won again, and then they lost again, but then they won again, and it was all kinds of fucked up. But before we get into all of that and more, I do have to make a few announcements. The first being that the Strickland has a Patreon. But before we talk about the Patreon, we also need you to know that the Strickland has an Instagram. Please subscribe to it. It is at thestrick.land on Instagram. We are putting out all kinds of new content on there. Please check it out. Please give us a follow. It will be a big help. We also have a YouTube channel where you may be watching this very podcast, getting a look at my growing beard that certainly has no gray hair in it. But if you are watching on the YouTube, do us a favor, hit like on the video. And if you already haven't, please hit subscribe and subscribe to our channel. We put out a bunch of videos. Prez sometimes, when he's not feeling lazy, does like some X's and O's analysis. So does Dallas. All the pods are on there. So it would be a big help. And you get to watch us. So please do that. Finally, the Strickland does have a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. There are a number of tiers. There's a $6 tier that gets you access to Pod Strickland, this pod that I host every Friday with Prez. You also get access to the Strickland mailbag that comes out every other week that is hosted by Andrew Steele, a.k.a. Doug, a.k.a. the Doug Bag, as well as Dallas Amico. You also get access to the Strickland Discord, where the conversation never stops. There are further tiers. There's a $9 tier that gets you access to Strickland Roll, my solo pod, where I rant and rave about the Knicks even more. You also get access to wonderful weekly articles by Matthew Miranda, one of the best in the business. There are further tiers. There's $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, $100 tier. This comes with a variety of additional benefits, like listening on a pod recordings, merchandise discounts, and even potentially co-hosting a podcast alongside yours truly one day. Whether you choose to subscribe or not, none of this would be possible without you. So without further ado, let's get started. I guess I'll say this. Nobody's gonna coach a perfect game. And Lord knows Thibs did not coach a perfect game. But I do think he coached a pretty damn good game. And yes, is there still weird things he does with like his, he's Quickley will play 30 minutes, but it's like 2 stints of 15 minutes. And yes, he does a lot of weird, strange things that I don't agree with. But if you look at this box score tonight, okay, and look, I think we've spent a lot of time on here criticizing Thibs, so it's only fair to give him credit when I think he coached a pretty good game. And look, you went to overtime. You got 37 minutes for Julius, 36 for Sims. Shout out Sims, who played a monster game, I thought. Both him and Hartenstein, I actually thought played really well.
I'm going to just plant the flag. I thought in overtime and the end of the fourth quarter, Sims was awful, but we can get to that later.
Yeah, we're going to get to that because you're wrong. Jericho Sims played 36 minutes. Jalen Brunson played 40 minutes. RJ Barrett played 40 minutes. Quentin Grimes, 38. And then off the bench, you had Obi Toppin for 16. Amazingly, 16 minutes for Obi Toppin. Let's fucking throw a party. Hartenstein, 17. Deuce, 13. Quickley, 28. Again, is this perfect? Is this exactly what I wish for? No, but you're not going to get exactly what you wish for ever, really, by any coach. I think you have to take, what's that saying? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I thought this was pretty good. And I thought early in the game, I was pretty worried because they were just getting open three after open three after open three.
How was the first? Because I'm not even I turned it on literally the beginning of the second, so I don't know. Like
they started off super hot. I think they got out to a 22-7 lead. They got They had a bunch of threes. I mean, Tatum was also cooking, but they got a bunch of threes, open threes. And I would say by like midway, I would say like after the first time out he took, the defense for the rest of the game, for the most part, like, look, Boston's going to stress you because they're just a really good defense, and Tatum and Brown are dynamic shot creators. But like, I thought for the most part, the Knicks did a great job. I didn't think that Boston was able to get clean for a barrage of open threes. I thought they made life pretty hard for Tatum and Brown, respectively, as much as you can can do.
I mean, you hold them to 41, 35, and 117 overall in overtime when they're like one of the better offenses of ever. that's
right.
pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm not a mathematician, but that's solid.
Yep, they did a good job, and I think Thibs actually, like, whatever adjustments he pulled out of his ass in that timeout. Not only did he make the right adjustments, but he got the guys to execute it. Because they run all these actions at the top of the key. They put a shit ton of stress on your perimeter defenders, not just to because it's not about just defending your man. You're gonna have to switch. You're gonna have to communicate. And I thought for the most part the Knicks did that. So I just wanted to start off by saying that I thought Tom Thibodeau coached a very good game, and I would say this is the second game in a row where I thought, for the most part, I was pretty happy with not just the minutes, but also just the general adjustments he made in the rotations. So, yeah, I'll let you guys. I guess Prez, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I just jumped into the game in the second quarter, like I mentioned, and the first thing that I tweeted about it that leapt off the screen was the second unit was fucking flying like if they were only allowed to play fast breaks and not allowed to do like slow half court stuff ever. So
to his credit, they've been playing fast for like the last, again, they started playing faster again for the last like 3 or 4 games. So maybe that's an adjustment he's made.
I think it is, because I'd even noticed it with Brunson a little bit. Not quite as much as the second unit, which is super frenetic when they're running, but I mean that in a good way. But like up until the fourth, which we'll get to, that Brunson was not always, but you saw him push the ball up. And my metric is I'll usually check what time the ball crosses half court. And if it's like 23 or 22 on the shot clock, that means they're getting over pretty fast. If it's 20 or 21, then it's like, eh. And I did this last year, just for comparison, so people know. Last year, it was regularly, they crossed at like 19, 20 all the time. So we've come quite a long way. So that stood out. Boston makes life hard with a lot of their moving around and flying around, and everybody's gonna like, you have to be ready for anybody to just chuck it up at any given moment, which means like they have a couple of guys who can drive, and because they're so ready to just chuck from three and they're good shooters, then it's like a pitcher who throws 100 miles an hour like 5 times a game, throwing an 85-mile-an-hour changeup that's not even that good. But like, just because they throw 100 miles an hour, like, you're gonna buckle the knees of the hitter even if the changeup sucks. So like, they'll be able to steal some points in the paint like that. I mean, obviously Tatum and Brown can drive, but like other guys like Brogdon, who he's fast, but you know, not the best finisher or anything. But their offense is just really good, is what I'm trying to say. And then it was really nice. Like, I think, what did they have, 60 in the first half?
Yeah, and 60. But 34 in the first quarter.
Okay, yeah. And then in the second half, the communication, and not even the communication, but just the timing became really good. Like, one thing that I always think is really difficult against good teams is to have good shooting and make it hard to double, because they can hit open shooters, is like knowing exactly when to leave your guy. You got to wait and to the right, like 0.001 seconds, and then just leave your guy. But if you leave too late, then you won't affect the shot. And if you leave too early, they'll make the pass. And like, guys like Tatum and Brown will blow by RJ and Julius, and it's not even their fault. They're just good. So the help defense has to be perfectly timed, and then the rotations after that have to be timed. And the Knicks were nailing a lot of that. I mean, they still got some open threes, but like, I was really impressed with that second half. I didn't watch the Cleveland game. I wasn't able to, but so I don't know how their defense compared to that game. But in the second half versus Boston, that I was super impressed. Like, Deuce, and it was even more impressive to me because in a lot of ways, like, Tatum and Brown are kind of a nightmare for the Knicks defenders because we don't have those tall wings.
Even like fucking like Brogdon's big, Derek White's big.
Oh my God, Brunson was posting up Brogdon in one possession, and I was like, this might as well be like two sumo wrestlers like fighting for the mat. Like, I was like, damn, I don't know who's gonna win here.
He must have some personal grudge against Brogdon, because he was like really going after him for a little bit there.
He's probably like, Brogdon has one All-Star appearance and I don't. What is this?
And he also clearly has zero respect for Derek White. I got to say that. He as soon as he saw him in the second and third quarter, he was just like, "This is food.
That's probably why Derek White headbutted him.
It's just like, this is a joke."
Jeff, what did you think?
Yeah, I think Prez, you brought up a great point with bringing the ball up quicker, like crossing half court, and for the past couple of years, that's always been a problem with me, and I don't know if that's because Julius brought it up probably 50% of the time instead of
that is it.
But you're right. It was so you're seeing a lot more of just Jalen Brunson grabbing it and bringing it up himself. Even seeing Julius defer and even just it's almost out of his head, and he just sprints up the court now for the most part. Tonight there are times when he gets hot and then he's almost I actually want the ball now to bring it up and I'm in a groove kind of thing, right? But for the most part this year, he's been great at letting Jalen take over or start it, bring the ball up. And like you said, it really has accelerated the offense, especially as of late. And then, the defensive part, Shwin, you brought up, and with the switching, the first couple of minutes were brutal. I think we were down 8 or so, with the first 3 minutes, not even.
They went down. We were down 15 at one point. I think it was 22-7
at one point in the first. So I think the second quarter just started clicking. Yeah, there were a lot more rotations going, getting closer, better defense, into the guys, into their shooters. So, and Julius was just on fire. He was incredible in the first quarter. And then all of a sudden you didn't see him until 2 minutes into the second, I think, or something like that, right? Or was that in the third quarter when
it was in this, it was
second,
like
right?
he let Obi go for I think about 8 or 9 minutes in the second quarter. So yeah.
Which felt nice. It felt good. Yeah. It actually seemed to benefit Julius in the third quarter. He didn't seem to have dead legs to start it.
Dead legs. This motherfucker was jumping out the gym.
I know. I know.
It benefited him for sure down the stretch. You could see it at the end of the game. But yeah, I mean, he had that dunk on Tatum in the third quarter. That was great. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I want to talk about those dunks real quick because not only does he look springy the last month, it feels like he's discovering new angles to dunk. I hate bringing him up on this podcast. I know he's persona non grata, but when Ja Morant gets a lot of these posters, he gets them because he jumps and dunks sideways at the rim. So it makes it harder to defend. And Julius's second dunk was like that, the poster over Tatum. And then he had another dunk. I don't remember if it was the last game or the game before that, but he's doing these side of the hoop dunks now. And he's realizing just like you can hit layups at weird angles, you can also fucking dunk on people with weird angles when you're that strong. So, unexpected, cool micro skill development for Julius.
I mean, I want everybody on the team training with Julius in the offseason, and he can hook them up with the good drugs that he found this summer. The good HGH and all that stuff. They all need to get on that
2009 A-Rod good stuff.
Yeah, the Balco hidden stash that's still out there somewhere. But I mean, look, Jericho worked out with him this summer too, and look, Jericho's obviously already fucking, whatever, a 150th percentile athlete or something. But yeah, no. In all seriousness, I don't know what happened to him last year. I really don't. I don't think we'll ever know what the hell happened. Some of it was mental. I think some of it was physical. He looked tired at so many points last year. Not just tired, but without the it was he didn't have the energy to play well, and then he would just get angry about everything and everyone, and it's just this negative cycle. They talked about it on the TNT broadcast today, and they talked about it on MSG earlier this year about how he's doing whatever the hell that is, that yoga. I honestly don't know what it is. Some mental kind of concentration.
Whatever
exercise.
Yoga the kids are doing these days.
He's doing some kind of mental.
mindfulness.
Yeah, whatever he's doing. Yeah. Okay, I don't know. And Hopefully, I didn't offend anybody by saying
he's definitely in a better place. And the giveaway is like, I mean, he still has times where he's very exasperated on the court, but like last year and the year before, when he shoots free throws at the end of games, you could see facial expressions where he was trying to be calm, but you could just see the nerves. And sometimes that happens this year, but today, for example, when he knocked down his 2, maybe it's because he had a good shooting day the rest of the game before that, but he just looked like somebody who was like Brunson, who's just, he might as well be shooting at 2 p.m. in the middle of practice. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I think, like, look, again, I don't know what it was, but, you talked about exasperation. He'll still get exasperated with teammates, right? But, like, the difference this year is it's like in the moment and then it's done. Like, it's not, like that, what was it? The game against Toronto on Sunday, he's screaming at Evan out of a timeout. They're both yelling at each other. But, like, look, whatever you want to say about his performance that day and the team and they lost, whatever. But, like, I didn't watch the rest of that game thinking, like, oh, Julius is in his own head now. Like, he's just fucking going, he's just spiraling. No, he hasn't had these, like, endless downward spirals. And that's what last season felt like. It just felt like one continuous downward spiral.
There's a lot of, like, I don't know how to put it. It's almost like release valves. Like, if the pressure's building, then Bunsen can handle it for a little bit, or sometimes RJ or IQ. And I really think that goes a long way, just for his own sanity. And we forget the X's and O's and those guys getting him better shots, because that's a part of it too. But just last year and the year before, you just knew it was all on him. We all knew. We didn't want it to be that way, but it was what it was, and he knew that, and we knew that, and he knew that we knew. But this year, we've seen him go stretches where he's both demanding the ball and also stretches where he's just kind of chilling, being the decoy and crashing the boards and all that. And more often than not, regardless of which mode he's in, he ends up with like 30 points these days.
Yeah, and I just think, like, whatever it is that there was like this manic energy about him last year, and I even thought at the start of this year it was still there. And this is probably something where, like, the mindfulness stuff that he's doing, all those things, like, you can do it, but like it's like practicing a jump shot, right? Like, you can practice it all summer, but applying it in real time in the situations that you need it in still takes time. And maybe that was something where, like, the stuff that he's working on over the summer in terms of the mental side of things, like, it's not going to yield those results instantly. But I think it's hard to say whatever it is that he's doing, whatever has caused this change, it's had the desired effect, because he is playing at a better level than I think it's better than he did his all NBA season. I feel like he's exhibiting leadership in a way that it feels a lot more genuine. I don't know how to put that. I don't know if that sounds bad, but, like,
well, it feels like he's not pretending,
like, especially with the way especially with the way last season went, it was hard not to look back at that season and been like, so was that all just like an act? Like, were you just acting like that guy? I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie Boiler Room, but there's this whole speech that Ben Affleck gives where he's like, act as if you got like a 30-inch dick. And I'm like, what? But, like, Julius he's not acting like a leader now. He's actually doing leader things. Benji had that really good video that he posted today on the KFS account of, like, RJ fucking up, Julius being exasperated, and then out of the timeout, Randle made the play that RJ didn't make by kicking it out to RJ on that next play. And, like, shit like that is that's leadership. Like, that's actual leadership. And, I'm Prez, I'm sure you remember this last year. We talked about this all the time, where, like, I was so pissed off and I'd listen to his post-game press conferences and they'd be like, what's like, they're asking him about his personal struggles. And then he would take that question and turn it into, like, well, we got to do this better. And I'm like, no, fuck we. Like, you got to do this better. But this year it's actually the opposite. Like, there was that game against Chicago that we blew, and I didn't even think Julius did anything really down the stretch of that game to blow it. But in the post-game press conference, he put it on himself, right? He said, oh, I got to get that rebound and, I've got to be better. And like, do I think maybe seeing Brunson do that stuff early in the season, it sets an example for him? Maybe. But like at the end of the day, he is making those type of like comments, which speak well upon him taking ownership of the fate of the team, really, in a way, and putting that onus on himself. So he deserves all the credit for that. And then obviously you just get to his play, and it's like, I mean, you look at the score tonight. He had 37 points on 13 of 25 shooting, 5 of 13 from 3, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. I mean, look, Tatum played a great game. I think I would say Julius flat out outplayed him. I thought he was the best player on the floor tonight. And does that mean he's a better player than Tatum? No, but when you have a guy that can take what is that's like a solid A- game from Tatum, B+ A- game from Tatum, and you have a guy that can match that on a given night, like, I don't know. It says a lot about the way he's playing. So look, I've shit on the guy a lot, so it's only right to own that. Hold my hand up, say I was wrong. Tyrese was right. Sad day in the history of the Strickland when I have to admit this. And Julius, look, he's turned it around. I know there are still people that don't like the way he plays and all this thing. Don't trust him in the playoffs. And okay, I get that, but like, you can feel that way, but you really can't look at this and now be like, well, this isn't like, oh, he's just playing better. He's playing at a career best level, and he's now doing this. There's no excuses, right? This is not an empty COVID year. This is not like, he's doing it in pretty much normal circumstances. He's dealing with the media. He's dealing with the reporters. He's dealing with fans that are probably getting on his ass all the time. And so you've got to give him the credit for that. And I think you've also got to give the front office a lot of credit for sticking with him and believing in him. And, whether they choose to, even if they did choose to trade him, guess what? They were right, because they're going to actually get shit for him if they did trade him now. Whereas in the summer, all the reports indicated that like, you probably would have had to attach something to him. So
their bet was basically, in my eyes, like they could have cut loose. Some people would have faulted them. Other people like us maybe wouldn't have.
No, I would have praised them for it.
Yeah, and the reason is you think that the odds of salvage, quote unquote, are low enough that it is more probable that you'll be better situated, like short, medium, long term, whatever, with whatever you got, whatever situation resulted from cutting bait. And front office decided, maybe because they have faith in Julius, maybe because they didn't like the offers that were out there for him, maybe a combination of factors, they decided that the odds of him fixing whatever was going on, between the ears, coupled with other adjustments like changing his shot chart and getting a player like Jalen, who really, really helps Julius out a ton, that put the odds of him having a bounce back, whether it's to keep him or to trade him, like you said, were better than selling low. And they took that bet and they made it. And I'd actually argue that that's probably the biggest bet that they've had. We've talked a lot in the offseason, in particular, when we had nothing to talk about for like 10,000 months, except for fucking Donovan Mitchell, that we kind of just wanted them to, Knicks fans are itching for this front office to take a big swing, right? Like trade up for your guy, or pitch for Donovan Mitchell and trade 4 picks for DeJounte Murray, or whatever other bad ideas that are circulating on the internet on any given day.
Man, if they had DeJounte Murray, they could even be maybe just one game over 500 instead of 4.
Man, that sucks. I don't know what's going on in Atlanta. I love AJ Griffin. Free him. Get him out of there. Everybody else I don't really care about. But yeah, it was seriously, them deciding like, we're going to stick with Julius. We're going to continue to work with him on and off the court. His body, his shot chart, his habits, his well-being, whatever, like that shit worked out. So credit to them, credit to Julius for buying in. That's a big fucking gamble, and it worked out.
Big investment.
And they had invested in him, which is certainly a factor in them being like, no, we're not gonna cut bait. so soon, right? We just pay this motherfucker, right? Like, it's easy for us to be on these podcasts and be like, nah, light your money on fire, you fucking billionaire loser or whatever. But not that it's Leon Rose's money. It's Mr. Dolan's money.
But that makes it even harder. That's the point. Because you have to go to that guy and be like, hey, so you remember that big contract we signed? So funny thing about that contract is it's underwater now. So
hear me out.
Yeah. We want to trade
Take a loss.
We want to trade for Davis Bertans, so you probably have never heard of.
Remember the last Latvian? Not the same, I promise.
Yeah, no, I and Jeff, I don't remember. I think, look, I think it's safe to say you and I would guess we're on the let's trade Randle bandwagon. Yes. I've been on that band. Yeah. I was on that bandwagon at the end of last year. I was on the bandwagon all summer. I was on the bandwagon probably. Shit, I think they were like. I think they were. Probably.
Are you off 13. It? Are you off it right now?
I don't know where I'm on like the I've been on the don't. I wouldn't trade him right now during the season bandwagon because I think like look, the young guys
at the beginning of the season on the pod, you were saying like two months ish was like your benchmark before you would consider like not trading, but just like, oh, this is a thing that's for real. And we're here about 3 months out, so that like the last month he's been hooping, and now you're right. Like on the pod, what have we been saying? It's like, okay, let's see where this goes. This seems to be working.
Yeah, I guess where I'm at is, look, he's playing well. And most importantly, right now, look, the OB stuff is annoying, and it is what it is. But, like, if
that's such a shit thing to say, too, isn't it? Like, it is what it is. Like, it's almost like what every fucking beat writer has been saying in Thibs' defense about anything Thibs does. Is like, it is what it is. It's Thibs. You know what I mean? Like that sucks.
It does suck because I actually think like, look, that you see that fucking step back 3 he hit today, and
it was amazing.
Yeah, and I'm just like, are we sure he can't play the fucking 3 in this league with the way?
And
like,
what about when he caught that full court bomb and he just did a behind the back touch? Like what?
He
finished it too.
Yeah, I don't know how you can look at a guy like that and be like, there's no way he can only play the 4, especially again, like with the way this league is going. But what I was going to say, if our biggest issue with Thibs this year...
You played Julius at the 3. Yeah. He was defending Jason Tatum half the time anyway.
Right.
Yeah. It's a question of who plays who on defense.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is, like, if our biggest issue is just that one thing, but, like, the vibes around the team are good, and a guy like Quickley's playing a lot. RJ is playing a lot. Grimes is starting. Mitch is, when he's obviously healthy, he's playing a lot. Sims is, and this is my thing with Sims. People were like, well, he's never going to play. He's never going to play. And it's like, dude, guys are going to get hurt. He's going to
especially Mitch.
Play. Yeah. Like, it's like Mitch got hurt. He played.
7-footers get hurt.
Yeah.
That's just what happens on Earth forever.
Obi got hurt. Sims played. Like, he was always going to play. So and Deuce is playing now. So, like, all your young guys are playing. They're in the rotation. Randle is playing well, and like we talked about, he's playing like a leader. So I guess where I'm at is just like, I don't, even if you want him to be traded, I really think at some point you have to look at this and be like, okay, but it's not ridiculous that they're not going to trade him right this minute, you know? And it's like, like anything, you can disagree with somebody's decision. It doesn't, but you should also be able to understand, like, if that decision is logical and has valid reasoning, logic, whatever behind it. And I don't know how you could look at Randle right now and be like, well, the front office, if they don't trade him for the deadline, they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. Like that's where I'm at with it, Jeff.
His on-court and off-court demeanor this year has been like a complete, basically 180 of what it was last year. And as you guys have been saying, kudos to him, kudos to the front office and the organization for actually investing in their investment. And it does show that they, Julius has been kind of that number one guy, 1A since he signed with us. And then Brunson, I think we're very lucky. Randle and Thibs are very lucky that Brunson is as as good of a teammate as probably as you can have. Like no ego, willing to share the ball, willing to share the glory, like the quotes, what have you. So I think that helped. And I didn't realize before I was against signing Brunson. I could care less for him at the time in the offseason. And Randle, I wanted to get rid of. For a bag of chips, it didn't matter, and like a first round pick or something. But like, so just to see this all come together, I agree with you. I would not want to get rid of him. I think the vibes are good. When Mitch is healthy and we have the starting five that we have, I think it does work really well. Quickley has to continue to get 25 plus. The Obi thing, it's so, I don't know, it's just so strange and ridiculous. I can't wrap my head around it. The idea that he just plays the backup 4, can't even get 3 minutes, can't even get 5. He was a fucking big man, when he played in college. He's done everything that has been asked of him. It's like, oh, you don't know how to shoot a 3. He's learned how to shoot a 3. Oh, you don't know how to box out and rebound. He's a lot better at that this year too. You don't know how to defend. He's way better at defending. Still not that great, but like when's he gonna get his fair cut and his, you know what I mean? So I feel terrible for Obi, but like seeing 16 minutes, I was so happy. Like that was the first thing I checked after the game, was like, see how many fucking minutes he got, and it was 16. Like, what did he get the other night? 10, and he was 4 or 5 with 11. Like, that's just nuts.
And also, like, this is just why, I don't know, we'll probably talk about this later in the pod, but like, I'm really not interested in using him in a trade right now, like, because he's just not going to be worth anything, and he's good. Like, I would much rather, even if he's only, if you told me the rest of the year he's going to get 16 minutes every single night, I would be like, okay, I wish he played more, but I'll take that. I'll be like, okay.
You're probably gonna, like, 16 minutes from someone as good as him. Like, we talk a lot. I shouldn't say we. Prez talks a lot about Chris Duarte, right? I like Chris Duarte. I like the idea of Chris Duarte more than I like actual Chris Duarte so far.
You feel some kinship with Chris Duarte.
I do. And
that New York connection.
Exactly. And we like the same foods, I'm assuming. So exactly. But like, say you get like, I'll take 16 minutes of Obi over 20 minutes of Chris Duarte.
Yeah.
Or 22 minutes or 25 minutes, because Obi's probably on the whole better, even if there's a little bit positionally a less clean fit. Like, talent and production still trumps that when you're talking about a bench unit, especially. So, and if you just think about, like, at first, I was pretty confident they would end up trading him, but this front office really hates trading low. So I don't know.
I don't think they like. Again, I also don't think they like trading their guys. Like,
Obi they bet on them. They like betting on them.
Obi is their guy. Quick is their, like. Look, were they willing to trade Quickley for Donovan Mitchell? Yeah, but that's
different. That's a
and they also and they also clearly never treated him in that thought process as like just a thing, right? Like, oh, we're just. Like, he's just something you have to put in the deal.
No,
that doesn't actually carry value.
It's supposed to lower the price of the rest of the deal.
Yeah.
Right. So they didn't trade Quick. They didn't trade Grimes, right? Grimes was alleged. I mean, we know the reporting was not exactly accurate, but like, Grimes was untouchable. And honestly, I'll tell you this: like, I know people will probably not like this. There'll be people that don't like this, but like, it's kind of why when, like, I'm thinking down the line of like, how are we going to get star X or star Y or whatever, I always am of the opinion that like RJ is probably the most likely guy to get traded, because technically he's not their guy. They inherited RJ, right? They inherited RJ. They inherited Mitch. I don't think they dislike those guys. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't think they feel the same way. Like, and this is maybe a dangerous thing, like, because there are front offices around the league that have gotten in trouble with stuff like this. Most famously, Portland with Neil O'Shea, where like he just would never trade CJ McCollum no matter what. Like, if you like, it's good to have faith in your guys. You also have to know when to pull the trigger. But I do think rightfully so far, they have not been willing to just trade the guys that they have picked. We even had the report from Cats, right, that like they don't really want to trade Miles McBride right now. And I know a lot of people saw that and were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Look, he played a great defensive game yesterday.
What that means is they don't want to like people just. I don't know. Maybe people don't know fundamental reading, but like that just means they don't want to give him away.
And also, like,
obviously, if somebody was like, right now, I'll give you an unprotected first round pick with Miles Bridges, I promise you, fucking Brock Aller would sprint to whatever city was offering that and just write the contract in pen on or blood or whatever the first available material.
Like, and I guess like also, it's one of those things where it's like Deuce is not. Right now, if you put him in a trade, if you're like, yeah, we'll give you Deuce McBride, the other team is going to be like,
cool,
okay,
fine.
Like that does nothing for us, but thank you. But like they definitely, and we also heard a report earlier in the year, right, where it was like there are people in the front office that wanted to see Sims get minutes, and it's like Sims was their pick. So it's like you're getting all of these reports about all of the guys they've picked have been like, they love these guys, they love this guy, and now not only are we getting those reports, but they're actually showing it with like the rotations that are being played. So, like I think with Obi, like again, like I know we can talk about the OG Anunoby thing. We'll talk about that later, but like I'm not really interested in including Obi in a trade for OG Anunoby. I'm not really interested in OG Anunoby as things stand. But before we talk about OG Anunoby, let's talk about a little bit more about the current Knicks, especially tonight's game. I want to get this out of the way. I thought Jalen Brunson had a really good second and third quarter. I thought he was pretty awful in the fourth, all across the board almost. Well, not defensively. Defensively, he was fine. But offensively, thought he played a miserable fourth quarter. Shot clock violation.
Bad crunch time possessions again.
Yeah, I mean, and
they slowed it down. Thibs, he got done in by himself and by both coaches.
Yeah.
Thibs doing the prevent offense doesn't help when another team knows how to take advantage of it. And you saw today what the problem with that is. Boston's a team that can throw a lot of help defense on you, and they have what did they do? They put Jaylen Brown on him, and Jaylen Brown's not going to make all defense, but he's relatively quick on his feet, and he's fucking 6'8" or whatever. So that's just
Thibs did make one slight adjustment to that. He started having Randle screen for him instead of Sims, which was like, it was funny to me because I'm like, this is probably like one of the few teams where it's like, okay, so you want Horford now in the action instead of Robert Williams? Are we sure that's like much better? Like, is that actually better at all? But like, whatever. Like, I don't want. The vibes are good. I'm not going to shit on. We all know
Horford's PEDs have worked miracles, but I give me Horford 10 times out of 10 over like Rob Williams is. That guy is like, so I'm always so impressed when I watch him, like physically and athletically. He's such a fast jumper. Like Sims, when he jumps like 10,000 feet in the air, but it takes him like 2 seconds to charge up. And Robert Williams just like, he'd just be chilling, and then all of a sudden, boop, he's like 10 feet in the air. And I'm just like, when the fuck did you get here, bro? And this is why he's such a good help defender. But Horford, like, Brunson was looking at him like food, definitely. But the Celtics had very good help defense, fortunately.
And all I'm going to say about the end of I really don't want to harp on the end game stuff because we talked about it fucking 6 billion times. Thibs is going to do what Thibs does. We all have our opinions on it, whatever. But like, as the point guard, I need Brunson to be better. I need him. Like, you cannot dribble out a fucking possession, dude. I don't care how shitty the play is that Thibs has drawn up. You can't fucking do that. That's ridiculous. And I'll say that, and to anybody that is like the people that will just be like, well, Brunson's so good, blah, blah. And I don't disagree with that. But those same people, if that was RJ or Quickley, they would fucking kill them. They would fucking slaughter them for that. So no, Brunson doesn't get a pass just because he had a great, nice, flashy 29 points. It took 25 shots. It wasn't.
I'm a little more okay with that versus teams where he has more mismatches, and it's just because he depends so much on like, oh, I'm going to reset for myself. Oh, I'm going to reset for myself again. Like, if you have some like mid-ass dude on you, that's okay. But if you have Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or Derek White or Robert Williams, like, it's going to be tough, bro. Just bend the defense and then pass the ball.
Yeah. And that's, or like, at the end of the day, maybe he should do that. But at a certain point, you just got to get the shot up. You got to get a shot up. That's like the one thing you cannot do at the end of a game is take shot clock violations, because it's literally the worst possession you can have, right? Like maybe not the worst because you milk the clock, but you're literally not even giving yourself the opportunity to get points on the board to see out a game. It's the worst outcome you can possibly have. He's got to be better than that. Yeah,
it's
like a own goal.
They did two of them. Of them.
And the one on Randle was terrible too, because again, we can talk about Thibs' bad, play design.
You gotta have clock awareness.
Yeah. And not just that, Randle was literally at the top of the key, middle of the fucking floor. He's like, you can't. I was looking at the play and I was like, because we've seen Randle dribble out shot clocks before, right? But in my head, I'm like watching this play and I'm like, no, he knows, like he can see it. It's right in front of him. And then it got to 3 seconds, and I'm like, oh my God, he actually has no fucking idea how much time is left in the shot clock. He dribbles it out, they don't get a shot up. But like that's got to be better. I know there'll be people that are gonna kill Grimes for missing 3 open threes. Like, I don't really know what he's like.
I'll kill him. He's got to make those.
Well,
Shit,
I
they're
get
wide
that.
open.
I get that. I get you got to make them, but it's like,
make one. Shit.
But what can I do for it's not like he's taking a bad shot or he's forcing up bullshit. He's got to make one of those shots. Yeah. But it's also I would bet that if you run that same scenario 90% of the time, he's going to make at least one, probably two, maybe all three. So it is what it is. But I just wanted to touch on those fourth quarter offensive things really quick.
So weird. It was a weird.
And it happened. It happened in overtime too. So it extended a bit. And to be quite clear, I mean, the Knicks, look, it's 115-110. I think the Knicks missed a shot, so Boston has a chance to even push the lead out further.
Yeah,
and at that point, I'm sitting here man, this was going to be such a fun pod to do, and now I'm going to be fucking pissed. And
yo, on top of that, you know what else was weird in the fourth quarter? And I wasn't going to tweet this because I didn't want to put this energy onto the internet, but we won now, so fuck it. This was the first. I think the refs made up for it after, but this was the first.
You got a good whistle.
No, not just a good whistle. I saw two horrendous. If I was a Boston fan, I would be fucking furious. That weird. I thought my computer fucked up. Like that Jalen Brunson, they didn't call the travel.
It wasn't a travel. It wasn't a travel. They showed the replay. Derek White stripped it.
Oh, I saw the replay.
I thought he caught it and then dropped it and then caught it again.
I saw the replay. It didn't look like Derek White hit it, but maybe I wasn't really watching.
I don't know. On the TNT broadcast, they showed it again. It looked to me that White got the ball. And the thing is, White didn't even complain about it.
Yeah, so I mean, if he got the ball, then that's not a travel.
Yeah.
And then the Hartenstein putback that was just half the ball was over the cylinder, which random tangent It's not on my top 5 rule changes, but the NBA should go to FIBA goaltending rules. That's I don't know if that's a hot take, but there you go.
No, it's not. But yeah, I just thought so. Whatever. They found a way to win.
They to just continue on what you were saying. They had 2 shot clock violations. They had just brain farts on dribbling the clock out. They had several different players.
3 straight fouls in a minute.
Yeah,
one of them was ridiculous. He got called for a foul because Tatum drove, and I just got to throw. I got to get this off my chest. Jason Tatum gets he gets that call all the time, and I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it because it's I can understand not calling anything. I'd be fine with that. If you don't want to call anything, I'm fine with that. How on earth you can call that a defensive foul? I will never understand it. He's driving. He extends his fucking elbow into Julius's neck. How is that? What is Julius supposed to do? Make his neck disappear? What the fuck? It's bananas to me. I couldn't believe that call. And it's not just because he gets that call. He got that call tonight. He gets that call all the fucking time, and it drives me absolutely crazy. He uses his off arm. He uses his off arm more than a fucking running back does. Stiff arming guys in the NFL. It's crazy. He did it last year. He had one on RJ too, where he's and it's not just one. He'll just get his chicken wing out there and he's just throwing it 2-3 times on a drive. It's absurd. I don't know how he gets that call. I don't know why he gets that call. And it actually pisses me off even more because I've seen RJ do the same exact thing and they call that an offensive foul on him all the time. And
the NBA is super inconsistent with the offense.
I'll never get it.
With RJ and Julius, it's often a charge.
It's because Tatum's light skin. That's what it is.
SGA is probably the only more egregious off-arm shanker in the league. And with him, he doesn't draw fouls. He just completely fucks you over, and they just don't call anything.
Well, it's also like it's more understandable to me with SGA because he's built like a fucking bird. Like Tatum's big, dude. Like he's not a little guy. He's fucking towering over
I
RJ.
actually thought about that today because when they were when him and RJ were standing next to each other, Tatum used to be skinny, and now I was like, oh, like their arms are right next to each other, and I was like, oh, he's like pretty much just as jacked as RJ and a little taller. Like that's significant.
Yeah,
he's not as like thick through the chest, but he's not skinny no more.
Yeah, he's still got the weirdest, like his body is like it's big and then it narrows down like this. And then it's like
he's like a weird pelican or some shit. I don't know.
He's like a flamingo.
It's like an old like toy, like
but like
so a lot of weird stuff in the fourth quarter, and then we had a couple of like it's so fun. One funny. This is what got me so mad at Sims. But on the one hand, it's hard for me to like. I was mad in the moment, but like, so Sims had a couple of possessions where he did the thing where he just boxes the Hartenstein special, where he just boxes, and then forgets to actually get the ball.
Looks at the ball,
and I'm like, bro, just get the fucking ball. But like, I think a lot of that is training weirdly because the Knicks have like a rebounding scheme for the most part, where the centers box the biggest dudes, and then everybody else like either box your guy or especially if you're the power forward, go get the ball. But at that point, I'm like, yo, if this ball fucking bounces in front of you, go get that shit. And then he had a couple of other plays where he just got sunned by various Celtics who just like moved him out of the way. And I'm like, bro, what are you, a fucking shooting guard? What the fuck is the point of having these Superman muscles if you're gonna at least Hartenstein would just be doofy and in the way, you not just get shoved into the first row.
I don't know. Hartenstein might get shoved in the first row.
Hartenstein just would not know how to like move his arms and just like fumble around, but he wouldn't like get like bodied by fucking a small forward.
Okay, no, I've definitely seen Hartenstein get bodied by a small forward. Get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
But like no, like
Sims has so many possessions where
I think you're way too hard on Sims. I'm just gonna throw that aside. I think you've got some weird thing with him where you've just decided like everybody likes him too much, and so because everybody else likes him too much, he is starting a game against the best offensive team in the league. Okay, he is in a lineup where two guys, at least for the first half of the game, didn't seem to care much about defense in terms of Brunson and Barrett. He's playing against one of the best offensive rebounders in the league in Robert Williams. Okay, Robert Williams had 5 offensive rebounds tonight. Great, dandy. The Celtics had 16 offensive rebounds on 59 shots. You take that on a given night like this, especially without Mitch. Sims had 10 defensive rebounds. I thought for the most part he did it, especially after the first 3-4 minutes.
He was fine. He just didn't. He was fine.
He was flat out good. He wasn't fine. He was good.
He was good at the stuff he's normally good at, and he was shitty at the stuff he's normally shitty at. Rim protection.
But like you don't like what is like we know that he's not good at rim protection. Sims is not good at defensive rebounding. Sims like there's all these different things that like guys aren't gonna be good at. He helped them win this They don't win this basketball game without him. They don't. They don't win this.
He was fine. He was fine. I'm just saying. In the fourth quarter, he had a bunch of instances where he was worse rebounding than normal and worse rim protecting than normal.
I don't agree with that. I've seen Mitch play awful in the fourth quarter again in exactly the same ways. I've seen teams get layup lines on Mitch in the fourth quarter, and it's not because Mitch is bad. It's because if a team goes 5 out, it's really fucking hard as a center.
No, I'm talking about possessions where Sims is literally under the hoop and there's nothing, like he doesn't impact it because he doesn't jump. Can you jump? You have a 40-inch vert. Can you jump? I
understand that, but part of that is also
jump? Can you tell me why he doesn't jump?
I think he didn't jump because he was trying not to commit fouls. That's what I 100% think he was doing today. Because they were in the penalty. Because Julius randomly started getting called for whatever bogus bullshit.
If you're not gonna jump because you're afraid of getting fouls, don't stand directly under the hoop. Because then you might as well be a cone. You're just you're 3 feet away from being a cameraman. Please, like that's my thing with Sims. Like if you know I have foul trouble and I can't jump and I can't be as aggressive, then you have to plan for that. And he doesn't do that.
Yeah, he needs fucking reps. Like he has to play minutes. So what the fuck are we talking about? You're acting like he's some experienced center who's in his 5th year in the league that's continuously making the same mistakes.
No,
He
he's
wasn't even in the
24, the
rotation.
same age as all our centers.
He wasn't in the rotation.
I
Don't give me the
a
age
shit.
thing. Don't give me the age thing. Get the fuck
not?
out of here.
Why not?
Because you know it's not the same thing. You know it's not the same thing. You
So
think it's the same thing for him to be 24 and be a second-year player in the league doing whatever the fuck he was doing in Texas as it is for Isaiah Hartenstein and what is it? His 4th year in the league?
It's not exactly the same, but he's had enough time. He's had enough time in the league to know.
How many minutes has he played in the league? Has he played 1,000 minutes?
All I know is a primary responsibility of centers is to jump to defend the hoop. So use your verticality, particularly if you're athletic. There was a lot of times where he didn't jump.
Yes, he's again. How many minutes do you think he's played in his career so far?
I don't know.
1,057 minutes. You're trying to tell me that he should fucking have all this shit down that he wasn't. We knew he wasn't good at this stuff when he came in the NBA, right?
I'm sorry. Maybe in the next 1,000 minutes he'll learn to jump to contest baskets, and he won't have the same rim protection stats as Andre Drummond.
You're picking two like instances you remember of him not doing it, and then you're saying he didn't do it at all the entire game, which is absurd.
I didn't say that. I said specifically in the 4th quarter he had a lot of instances where he didn't jump. That's literally what I said. I said first of all, I said I didn't even watch the 1st quarter. I told you that. That's why I said he's probably fine for the game. I'm just talking about the 4th quarter and overtime.
Yeah, and I don't agree. I think he did. Did he have possessions where he fucked up? Yeah, of course he did. I'm not going to deny that. But he also had possessions where he impacted plays around the rim, and he got key defensive rebounds.
He did some good rebounding, except
and
for
he
when
did
he
block.
didn't.
No, but look, fuck Jericho Sims. We don't need to talk about him anymore. I do want to talk about RJ Barrett, who I thought had a very interesting game. Maybe the worst. I mean, he played the worst defensive first half of anybody else on the team. His offense wasn't much better. His offense didn't really get much better throughout the game. But his defense in the second half, I thought, was legitimately good. I thought he did well on Jaylen Brown throughout the second half. Jason Tatum's just a tough cover for him and really for everybody on this team.
Everybody in the league.
Yeah, I mean, other than Randle was great on him. But other than that, everybody else just, he struggled with him, and it happens. He didn't like, you want to talk about Jericho Sims, like probably the one play where I was genuinely like, what the fuck are you doing? Was that out of bounds play with like 25, 24 seconds left, whatever the fuck it was.
What happened? Because I wasn't watching with announcers and I was very confused.
I'd have to go back and look at it, but it looked like, so they ran the inbound to Jaylen Brown about 20 feet away on the wing. And then Robert Williams moved away from the hoop. And I feel like Jericho thought maybe he was going to go screen for somebody. So he started following him and like
I remember.
Yeah.
Yes,
and then as soon as that happened, like Jaylen Brown just spun baseline, gets to the fucking hoop.
Went right to the hoop.
Yeah. And he got a layup. And that was like the one play where I'm like, that's a play where it's like, that's you not understanding the game situation, time, score, whatever. I'm speaking about Jericho Sims. I don't know. Can RJ do better there? Maybe, but I just think that was a tough.
You need two people to cover Tatum in that situation.
It was Brown, but yeah,
Brown.
Same
sorry,
shit,
yeah. I mean,
but overall, I thought he played a good defensive second half. And look, he makes the biggest three of the game in overtime, right in front of the Celtics bench. Hits 2 huge free throws after that, which didn't ice the game, but at least in your head, I was like, well.
I was nervous as fuck, bro.
I was like, well, at least we can't lose it here. We might go to double overtime.
That's a big difference in stress levels, man.
Yeah. So I was like,
you're like, I might not die today. That's solid.
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk about it because, like, look, we've talked about Brunson has tunnel vision sometimes, right? Like RJ has the most frustrating tunnel vision to me on the team because he's not like. With Brunson and Randle, at times it's really frustrating, but I'm also like, I can kind of understand why you guys shoot as much as you do because you're just like really talented shot makers from multiple levels of the floor.
Off the dribble.
Right.
With RJ, it's like, you're not going to take a fadeaway, bro.
Yeah.
Pass the fucking ball.
Right. And honestly, the biggest, most annoying thing to me was like that game last year against Boston where it's that ridiculous game winner. What people forget is he had a terrible game. And he kept forcing shots up at the rim over Robert Williams, who blocked him, I think, like 4 or 5 times. There was even a part of that game where Stan Van Gundy made a joke, and he's like, oh, I think they say something like discretion is the better part of valor. and he's like, I think RJ Barrett might need to be using a little bit more discretion on some of these drives. And it's like he did the same thing today where he's forcing up these contested layups at times with like Robert Williams just sitting there under the rim. And it's like, dude, I get when you do that on like 90% of centers in the NBA because you're just like jacked and you can. But Robert Williams is not 90% of centers in the NBA. He's like 1% center, right? Like there's just not many Robert Williams out there. So he's missing these stupid layups that he's taking. Then he had this drive. The one that really fucking pissed me off was in the third quarter, might have been the early fourth. I'm not exactly sure. He gets a fast break opportunity. He's driving. Tatum is back. He's got Brunson on the trailer, wide open. Nobody's even close to him. And then he had Grimes on the opposite wing or corner-ish. And like, he's wide open.
Passes on a fast break, man.
And he just didn't. He just refuses. And instead, he tries to take this he ends up having to take this sweeping hook layup thing over Tatum that doesn't go in. And I'm just like those are the plays to me. And I tweeted like these type of games where, okay, you take a couple layups to start the game and you realize, you know what, Robert Williams is like hanging out here. This is going to be rough. If I keep forcing it up, let me try to look for other dudes. When you don't make that adjustment, these are the games that nuke his efficiency. And these are the games that in combination of that with his terrible defensive effort in the first half are the ones where people kind of lose levity in analyzing him because look, it wasn't a good game from him. And I'm as bad a game as it was from him. Obviously he ends up making again the biggest shot of the game and then the two biggest free throws of the game. So great. But these it's really frustrating because he's put together a really long stretch of good offensive play. And so when you get a game like this, the kind of natural inclination is to be like, oh my God, this is it. He's back to being, pumpkin again. But
with RJ,
he's 22.
With RJ, the frustrating.
All I'm going to say is he's 22. I get as pissed off about these terrible defensive halves or whatever. I get pissed off about the shot selection, about not passing enough. Go look at Tatum's passing numbers, right, throughout his career. It took him 4.5 years to leverage the fact that he's this supreme offensive talent to do more than just score points for himself.
Jaylen Brown still don't do that shit.
Right. It takes time. It's hard. And there's no guarantee. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee that RJ is going to eventually balance those things properly. But I mean, you know this more than anybody as a draft person. All these guys, all these things we talk about with players and how they're going to develop and what they'll become, it's all bets. It's all bets on unknown variable. The only known variable is the production on the court. But we're not in the fucking locker room. We're not around these guys every day. We don't know their personalities. We don't know what their quirks. We don't know what they're like behind closed doors, how they take advice, all that kind of shit. So at the end of the day, organizations have to make bets on these guys. And I'm sorry, I feel like every time he has a bad half or bad game, there are people that are ready to throw him under the bus entirely. And it's dude, he's a 22-year-old guy figuring out what works and doesn't. And to figure that shit out, guess what? You're going to have shit like this. You're going to have games like this. You're going to have halves like that. You have to be okay with that and keep moving. Fuck, look at the guy on our team. Look at Julius Randle. Look at what the fuck he was doing when he was 22 years old. You know what I mean? Who the fuck, if I told you at 22 years old, Julius Randle was going to make an all-NBA team and be a two-time All-Star probably in all likelihood, you'd have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's going to be a nice, 10-year player in the league, but he's not going to make an All-Star team. So, and I'm not saying RJ's going to make an All-Star team. I'm just saying we don't know. I think there's stuff that he's developed that's really positive. And yeah, there's stuff that he's regressed at defensively specifically that he needs to get back to being better at, and things like rebounding and decision-making offensively that he needs to improve at. But, again, give it time. It's okay. He's not destroying your team as much as people would like to believe that. He's just a guy, you give a guy 26 usage, might take him some time to figure out how to kind of make that all work optimally.
With RJ, a couple points. One, I think what frustrates people the most well, I won't speak for everybody, but at least for me, it's the unforced errors, right? And he's had less of those this year on offense, but the fast break was a perfect example where you just got to know, like where's the logical endpoint for this, right? Are you just gonna go up versus Rudy Gobert and Brook Lopez too while you're at it? Like, there has to be somebody who you're just like, I will not. I'm gonna lose this fight. They're gonna punch me in the fucking face, and I'm gonna get a concussion. Like, it's not a good idea to fight this person.
Yeah, this
And
isn't Scotty Barnes. I can't just destroy him.
Yeah, exactly. right. And it's okay. You could. There's Peyton Pritchard is right there waiting for you. Like, just give it time, and you'll get the ball back, and then you'll get plenty of mismatches and drives and all that stuff. And he's driving, he's doing those transition things because he's getting his legs back or whatever. So, like, on the one hand, I get it, but you gotta. He just has to know. He's still working on a lot of that reactivity stuff, like you mentioned, that goes hand in hand with passing. And I don't know if it'll ever be there, but like on offense, this year he's taking mostly better shots. Even his layups aren't like as annoying. I wish they would go in more, but he's shooting better on that. You can look this up. He's shooting better on layups by, I think last year he was 46% on layups. This year he's like 52% or something, and he's shooting better on floaters. So he still has a lot of room for growth on his finishing, for example. But like, if he shoots a little bit better, and like if he shoots like 37% or 38% from three in the second half, like his efficiency numbers will be pretty solid. And like, you look at, I always compare him to the peers who got money the same time as him, right? Tyler Hero and Jordan Poole, who are probably a little bit more efficient at offense because of their shooting, but like they are also dog shit at defense in a way that is more harmful than RJ. Like, RJ's been bad at defense. Like, I've made long threads about his bad defense, and more than anything, it's frustrating. His defense is frustrating because it's inconsistent, because he can have halves like the second one where he's not getting blocks or steals, but he's just being annoying, and he's getting
big and in the way.
He's big and in the way. And you know who's never going to be big and in the way of Jaylen Brown for a half? Tyler Hero, Jordan Poole. There's no universe where for a fucking quarter you can put them on Jaylen Brown, 27 point per game Jaylen Brown, and not get fucking lit aflame. Like,
Jaylen Brown was awful tonight. By the way,
he was horrible.
Yeah.
And the Knicks' help defense in the second half was a big part of that. It wasn't just RJ, right? Like, it was always RJ and somebody. Like, there was a stretch where Sims and RJ had a great.
Whoa, you sure?
Yeah, because Sims came out on the perimeter where he turns into a superhero. Free Sims, let Sims switch. Moral of the story. And then who else was it? Hart had a call. They were just doing a good job helping on Jaylen, probably because he's more predictable than other guys because he doesn't pass.
Ton of it.
Yeah, he gets a ton of it. It makes the defensive job a lot easier, and that's why even though he's really good, he frustrates Celtics fans, right? You see that shit on Twitter all the time. Like, here we go again, pass the ball, Jaylen. But like, no, RJ, he had a solid defensive second half, and with him, it's just the defense is never spectacular. It's not the kind of shit you want to tweet a clip about or anything. It's like, oh, he didn't get crossed up. What a great possession. Like, that's actually is a great possession, all right? Like, he stayed with this man and they missed the shot. Like, the end. So it might not be the most spectacular stretch of defense the NBA has ever seen, but that matters a lot for him, because if you have a big-ass dude who's solid and then decent at scoring and can hit a corner three, I was fucking flummoxed to see that him, along with OG Anunoby, are like the leading field goal makers from that corner in the NBA.
Yeah,
that's crazy to me.
From the right corner, right?
Yeah, I think as of today, I think he had the one, but did he have any other corner threes there today?
I don't know. I don't remember. I think he might have hit both of his from the corner, but I'm not sure if it was the same corner.
So I think OG's up by like one or two now, but it's weird to me to think that just, we've all been like down on him, and he's like the leading scorer from that corner in the NBA.
Jeff, I want to get your thoughts on RJ too, but before I do that, I do have to make an announcement about DraftKings Sportsbook. 4 NFL teams, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get 200 in free bets instantly. Not a new customer? You can feel the conference championship thrills with stepped-up same-game parlays. Take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout and boost your winnings with each leg. You add up to 100%. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code TBPN. New customers can bet $5 in the conference championships and get 200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TBPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Yeah, Jeff, me and Prez been talking here for a while. RJ is obviously, I think it's getting to a point where it's a little bit like, it's his 4th year and we all want him to be this all-star and star. And you see, what a guy like Zion has done when he's healthy in his class, or John Morant or Darius Garland. And it's like, you want RJ to take that leap and get to that level. Obviously, I don't think he's done that yet, but that I feel like the disappointment of, not even necessarily disappointment, but like the reality of where he's at in his career shouldn't take away from the fact that there is development, there is progress. He is still young, and there's plenty of optimism and reason to believe that he can get better, even from and continue to grow. So, I don't know. Where are you? I mean, look, watched what RJ did today. So I guess what did you think about RJ's game today? And then also just generally, like, where are you at with him? Because I feel like I see a lot of people that I'm so done with RJ, and like I had a few people jump up in my emotions today and be like, oh well, we should trade RJ for OG Anunoby, and I'm just like, this is just not the conversation anybody should be having right now.
No, typical RJ game, right? Or seems like it. I think that's one thing of RJ's that I've noticed since we drafted him and since he's been with us is he'll have a lot of games per year where majority will be off on the first half, but then turns it up in the second half, or vice versa. I'm not worried though. Like you said, he's young. If he was older, or if he had a couple more years in the NBA, and we're talking about this, but no, I'm not worried about it. Seems like he again, a guy like I mentioned, like Obi, he's learned something every year that we ask him to, or work on something of his game, and he does that. So 22 years old, I've seen enough flashes throughout his career. I've seen how he can handle pressure situations, game-winning shots, clutch shots. So no, I'm not worried. And OG sucks. I don't even know why people sweat him.
So I'll just my very basic reason for why it'd be really dumb to trade RJ for Obi is like RJ's. Let's just say, I think it's safe to say that the RJ's value around the league right now is probably not like where
it could be.
It's not at the value that like you would want it to be at if you're trading, whatever. But he signed a 4-year, $107 million contract extension. That locks him in at a pretty good number, like a low number, relatively
fantastic
speaking.
Number.
Yeah. Like that number would make my life. But in NBA terms, it's a very reasonable contract. That's not too expensive. And like if you're trading him for OG is going to get paid in a year. So at the end of the 2024 season, he's going to command more than RJ.
It's going to be $24, $25 too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
that's just different.
Yeah, it's going to be a more expensive contract. And I'm sorry, but like, let's go with OG's a better player than RJ. Okay, let's just go with that.
Okay.
Is he? What if you just swapped those two guys? Is that making either of those teams materially like different? Is that changing the trajectory? No, it's not. And at the end of the day, like I think RJ at 22, I'd rather bet on him improving, and especially because of the contract number he's on, than considering flipping him for OG and then having to pay OG because you traded for him, and then hoping that you can then trade a higher dollar OG who doesn't have the upside RJ does offensively, as far as I'm concerned. If you think RJ plays with blinders on, motherfucker, like go watch OG Anunoby play basketball. That motherfucker's just out there in Toronto playing prison ball with everybody else on that team, like just fucking running into like opposition defenders 60 times a game. Like, give me a break. That shit is so ugly to watch. I hate watching them play. They play like absolute, just like no blood, no foul fucking ball all day, every day. I hate them. Fuck them and fuck OG Anunoby. But the point is, like, that's why I wouldn't make that trade. I don't think it makes any sense. And
the upside is just too much for people to ignore. Like, I wouldn't even mind trading for OG. Not trading RJ though, because of that exact reason. Like the thing, and it's the same shit I said on this pod before the season started. It's like what RJ has to do to become, even right now with his inconsistencies galore, he's still a good contract. If he does like any small meaningful improvements in anything else, all of a sudden it's like a fucking super steal.